Yeah. So what is the first step in electrophilic substitution reactions?
Formation of an electrophile.
Yes. So first ever step is formation of an electrophile. Okay. So what is the electrophile when when the reaction is chlorination, when the reagent is chlorine?
Cl minus. Cl plus, sorry.
Chlorination is Cl plus. What is the reagent when it is undergoing Friedel-Crafts reactions? Friedel-Crafts alkylation. So I want somebody else to give the answer. Triti, Mayas, Ishta.
And the acylation reaction.
Alkylation reaction.
Oh, okay.
So what is the electrophile that is being formed?
Alkyne benzene.
Huh? Product name. The electrophile. Abhi first step, formation of an electrophile, right? So what is the electrophile being formed during Friedel-Crafts alkylation? You don't remember? None of you. Alkylation में what is being added to the to benzene? Like what is the final product? अरे इसी तरह HCl नहीं है ना, alkylation की बात कर रहे हैं. Like take the hint from the word itself. Chlorination में chlorine ऐड हो रहा है, alkylation में extra thing that's getting substituted onto the benzene ring is alkyl group. So in this case, yes. So it is usually an alkyl carbocation. So if it's a methyl group being added, you get CH3 plus or C2H5 plus. So you can generalize it to R plus. So any alkyl group is denoted by R. So you can say R plus. So alkyl carbocation is the one being added. Do I need to go over this reaction again, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, thought so. All right. Next, Friedel-Crafts acylation. So, acylation is basically adding on this particular group, R C double bond O plus, RCO plus. Okay, so this particular group is called an acyl group. The way this is called an alkyl group, this group is, so when you have a carbonyl with an alkyl group attached to it, this particular group is called an acyl group. So it's called,
A question.
yeah.
Exactly how many groups and uh, uh, sorry, how many groups do we need to remember? Like
There
how
are
many?
quite a few, like all the functional groups that you would have come across in nomenclature.
Yeah, yeah. Like what are function groups? I know that we have to remember the alkenes, alkanes. I need carboxylic acids, alcohols, ketones,
Yeah,
aldehydes,
yeah.
and carb,
Then
alcohol.
nitrogen based, you've got amines, nitrile group, the CN. So
Okay.
amine is basically nitrogen. R, so you've got a primary amine, secondary amine when you have two R groups. connected to an H, and you have a tertiary amine when all three sides are connected to alkyl groups. And then you've got nitro group NO2, and then you've got nitrile group, which is C triple bond N. So you've got nitrile if it is connected on the carbon's end, and isonitrile if it's connected on nitrogen end, that way.
So, is it possible for you to go over all these groups once? Because it gets really confusing. Like, you have to constantly explain what an alkyl is, what an acyl is.
Okay, I'll do that at the end of the chapter. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like all these subsequent chapters in organic chemistry, like right now we have about hydrocarbons. All the other groups we are going to study about in detail. So I'll just list out what all groups are there, like group wise, so that it's easy for you guys to remember. When it comes to things like amides and acyl group and all, it's not like we're going to study about them. It's more of cases like these. Oh, this is used in such a reaction, or this is produced when chlorine reacts with an aldehyde, or like something like that. So these are like they are those exist more or less, but it's not like one of the major functional groups that you're going to study about and all that. In any case, yeah, we'll go over that. So Friedel-Crafts acylation में, the acyl group is the one that gets added. So acyl is basically RCOCl. So acyl chloride is if this is connected to Cl, that way. And then we've got nitration. So nitration में, what do you think gets added to? Like what is the functional group that gets
NO2.
NO2. So nitration, nitro. So NO2 plus. And finally, sulfonation. What happens during sulfonation? It's got something to do with sulfur. Yeah, go ahead.
HSO2
HSO3.
or
Yeah.
HSO3.
HSO3 plus. Okay. So these are what get added to it. So in order to get chlorine Cl plus, the reagent that you use would be chlorine plus a Lewis acid like AlCl3. So these are the reagents that you use. So basically, we need to get Cl plus added to benzene, substituting hydrogen. So in order to get Cl plus, what is the source? Like where do you get this from? Cl2 plus AlCl3. So this is what this is the reagent that you use for electrophilic substitution. Similarly, for Friedel-Crafts reactions, what reagent do you use in order to get these? So alkylation में what will you use in order to get R plus? So where you get R plus is again you take alkyl halide, so RCl, RBr along with AlCl3. And similarly, even for acylation, it's the same thing. So if you want to add R plus, you're taking RCl. So if you want to add RCO plus, you take RCOCl plus AlCl3. Okay. So when it comes to reagents in which like reagents that contain chlorine, like in all these three cases, you've got chlorine attached to chlorine, you've got alkyl group attached to chlorine, and you've got acyl group attached to chlorine. So in all these three cases, you use AlCl, a Lewis acid like AlCl3 in order to take away this chlorine so that you get your required electrophile. Okay, so that's how that's basically your first step, formation of the electrophile. Now coming to the other two, nitration and sulfonation. Now the source, like the reagents for these two electrophiles, are acids. So what acid will give you a nitro group?
Nitric acid.
Nitric acid. So HNO3. Now from HNO3, like if you use it in as a regular acid in aqueous conditions, this has a tendency to split into H plus and NO3 minus, right? Like that's how you get your salts. So in order to get NO2 plus, you need to rip the H as well as one O. So if this is the structure of nitric acid, you've got NO and OH. So this is the structure of nitric acid. You need to rip this whole of OH apart. So in order to do that, like a strong enough reagent that can do that, what you take along with HNO3 is concentrated sulfuric acid, H2SO4. This is a really strong acid that it can rip apart this OH in order to give you the NO2 plus. Okay. And similarly, in the case of sulfonation also, you take only sulfuric acid. So basically it does its own job of ripping apart one OH from a different H2SO4 molecule. Okay. So in the case of chlorination, Friedel-Crafts reactions, you take AlCl3 along with whatever generates your electrophile. So as long as you have halogens here, you take a Lewis acid like AlCl3. Another alternate to AlCl3 is FeCl2. So basically any metallic chloride in which the, I won't say where valency is not completely met, but let's get into it later. So basically it's AlCl3 and FeCl2. So either of these, so these act as Lewis acids. Okay. And wherever you have an acid as your source, like in the case of nitration and sulfonation, if you want NO2 plus and HSO3 plus, you take another acid to generate the electrophile. So for nitration, you take nitric acid and sulfuric acid. And for sulfonation, you just take like really concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Pakka, all of you?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay. All right. So this is like the first major part. One is for the first step. We're continuing with how formation of the electrophile. I'll just call the electrophile as E plus. Okay. So in the first three cases, when you have chlorination, the source is Cl2 plus AlCl3, right? So what happens first is the electrophile is formed first. So the Lewis acid, because of its own chemistry, like it's got like one empty orbital waiting to be filled, like that's how FeCl2 also works, that's how AlCl3 also works. So basically this is going to break the chlorine molecule to give Cl plus and form the complex AlCl4 minus. Okay.
Ma'am, I had a question.
Yeah.
What is unique about Lewis acid?
Lewis acids are basically like a type of acids. So acids, basically you guys would have learned that acids are anything that generate H plus ions, protons, right? Like
Yeah.
The acids you're
Yes.
familiar with, HCl, H2SO4, phosphoric acid. But there are other compounds, like the best example is AlCl4 minus. You've got FeCl2. Like there are other compounds that don't have H plus, but under certain conditions, what happens is they have a tendency to increase the concentration of H plus ions. So when you put a Lewis acid in water, so water contains what sort of ions?
H plus and OH minus.
H plus and OH minus, right? So when you put certain types of compounds in water, they're going to attract and bond to OH minus. Like for example, if you put AlCl3, it's going to bond to OH minus, forming a complex, which in turn increases the relative concentration of H plus, right? So water is neutral because it has equal concentration of H plus and OH minus. If you take away some of the OH minus, then that's going to lead to an increase of H plus ions compared to OH minus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So increase of H plus ions means uh, like that particular compound is going to show acidic properties, right? So those types of compounds, they themselves don't contain any hydrogen atoms, but they tend to show acidic properties. So those kind of substances are called Lewis acids. Similarly, ammonia is acidic or basic?
Basic.
Basic. But the bases that you're generally familiar with, like potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, all like bases are substances that have OH minus. Like that's something you're familiar with, right? But ammonia doesn't have any hydroxide ion. So how is it showing basic properties? So when you add ammonia and water, the lone pair present on nitrogen, it's going to attract the H plus, forming ammonium ion, NH4 plus. So because it is taking away some of the H plus, that in turn increases the quantity of OH minus, and that is how it shows basic properties. So compounds like ammonia, they are called Lewis bases.
And this is a property that's not shown by every base or every acid. It's only like the taking away of OH or taking away of H plus is shown by Lewis acids and Lewis bases. Or is it
Yes.
shown by everyone?
No, like basically the end goal acids are substances that have an increased concentration of H plus as compared to OH minus. So it's just the way that happens is different. Like the reason why you have Lewis acids, Lewis bases is because before these you've got something called Bronsted acids and bases, like a Bronsted definition of acids and bases, which went by the proton donating, proton accepting kind of route. Um, yeah, the next stage when people started coming across more compounds, Lewis gave a different definition, which is why you use the term Lewis acids and Lewis bases.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
The aluminium chloride
Hmm.
complex is formed also during the Fieldcraft reactions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'll be getting to next.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is chlorination. When you're adding for chlorination, you need to generate Cl plus. The way to do it is let loose a Lewis acid on a chlorine atom. So it takes away a Cl minus, leaving you with Cl plus. Similarly, in the case of Friedel-Crafts reactions, so you've got alkylation, in which case you take RCl. Again, exact same mechanism. So the AlCl3 takes away the Cl, leaving you R plus and the AlCl4 minus complex. And same with acylation also, RCOCl, AlCl3 gives R CO plus and AlCl4 minus. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. You're just taking away the negative ion, leaving you with the positive ion, which is your electrophile, right? Now, what about nitration and sulfonation? So in the case of nitration, what is the reagent that we used? What's the source?
HNO3 plus H2SO4.
Yeah, we've got HNO3 plus H2SO4. So what happens in this case is a little different, a little kind of complex. It's not very complex though. So H2SO4 dissociates into H plus and let's say HSO4 minus. Okay, so let's say it gives out one proton first. So that's how acids dissociate. Like both the protons don't leave simultaneously. Like one proton leaves first and then the other proton leaves next. That's why you get 2H plus and SO4 2 minus. But yeah, this is the first step. When this happens, the H plus from this proton destabilizes the nitric acid. So nitric acid structure I've shown you earlier. You've got an OH here. So this proton gets attracted to the lone pair of on oxygen in nitric acid and breaks this bond. So what you end up with is NO2 plus, and then because this proton is attracted to this OH, that part forms water and you'll be left with HSO4 minus. Okay. So this is how your electrophile is generated in the case of nitration. So this H plus, the proton from sulfuric acid, is the one that destabilizes the oxygen nitrogen bond by getting attracted to this lone pair of electrons, this side, like the electron rich area. It's not going to touch this because yeah, this is going to be in resonance and these electrons are delocalized. It's difficult to break the bond between the other oxygens, even though there are lone pairs. So it is the easiest for the H plus to break this particular bond between nitrogen and oxygen. Okay, so that's how we get our nitro electrophile. So H plus combines with OH minus, forms H2O, and the remaining part is HSO4 minus. Okay. And then finally, in the case of sulfonation, so you're taking only sulfuric acid. So whatever is going on in nitration over here, the exact same thing will happen in sulfonation also. So this time, can you figure out what is going to happen? So instead of nitric acid, we've got sulfuric acid. The other molecule of sulfuric acid plays the same role. So now what happens?
Can you expand one H2SO4 molecule, if you don't mind?
So SO4F, so this is what it looks like. And this is going to dissociate into H plus and HSO4 minus. Okay. Yeah, tell me what happens now. So you can either tell me what are the products like along with the which is the electrophile and what is formed along with it.
Water is one product.
Okay.
Then our electrophile, which is HSO3 plus.
HSO3 plus. Okay.
HSO4 minus.
Absolutely. Correct. So the exact same thing happening. Matlab, this H plus is going to destabilize one of these two bonds, bond between sulfur and oxygen. These two would be difficult to break because they are double bonds. So it's going to go for one of the OH, like OH attachments, like this bond between sulfur and oxygen of OH. Once that breaks apart, you get HSO3 plus and H2O. We've got both these products, and this remaining HSO4 remains as it is here. Okay. So this is how each of your electrophiles are generated. So the next two steps in the mechanism are the same no matter which electrophile it is. Okay. So I've again, as I mentioned, I'm representing the electrophile as E plus. So adapt to it based on the reaction that you are writing. So if you're specifically focusing on Friedel-Crafts reaction, then you need to write R plus, or if they've outright told you that what happens when benzene reacts with methyl chloride in the presence of AlCl3, then use the methyl group in place of the electrophile. Okay. So in like no matter which electrophile is being formed, once you've got your electrophile, what happens is the electrophile attacks benzene and forms something called an arenium ion. So it's basically a carbocation. So attacks benzene, so the positive charge shifts on carbon, so you end up with a carbocation within the benzene ring. Okay. So you have benzene here minding its own business, ring structure. You've got the delocalized electrons, and then you have the electrophile that's covered, E plus. So positive charge gets attracted to the electron rich pi bonds over here. So it gets attracted to benzene. Yeah, Mitali?
Yeah. No, the double bond will break, right? One of the double bonds.
Yes. It gets attracted there, and it's going to want to take the electrons of the double bond towards itself. So what ends up happening is it breaks one of the double bonds. So hydrogen already is present here, and E is already present here. So now the electrophile group gets attached here, and if you take away this pair of electrons, like if you break this double bond, where should I put the positive charge? Should I put the positive charge on the carbon where the electrophile is attached, or somewhere else? I'll number these carbons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On which carbon should the positive charge land? Like which carbon will get the positive charge? Yes. So you get the carbocation formed on the adjacent carbon, because this has taken the electrons towards itself. So now the first carbon is deficient in electrons. So that's how you get this carbocation. Okay. Then a different color. Okay. So so the reason why arenium ion formation itself is possible is because the resonance is not going to stop just because one double bond is broken. So the positive charge shifts towards, like, within the throughout the ring So there is still delocalization of electrons, which is why formation of rhenium ion is possible, and it is stabilized in this step. Okay. So how does this resonance work? Again, this positive charge, it is electron deficient. So this carbon is going to want electrons. So it's going to pull these pi electrons towards itself. So the next structure in the resonance that you're going to get is you have hydrogen, you have electron. Carbon number 4 and 5 are not minding anything, but the double bond shifts over here, and because electrons are taken away from carbon 3, that gets the positive charge. And then the same thing continues. Carbon 3 is deficient in electrons. It attracts the double bond towards itself. So now carbon 5 is deficient in electrons.
So can we say that each of these are isomers of each other?
No, they're
They're
resonance
the same
structures.
resonance structures. Okay.
Yeah. So that's just delocalization of electrons. All of them exist simultaneously. Remember the resonance funda? Okay. So rhenium ion is stabilized by resonance, which is why the delocalization still continues, right? Which is why formation of the rhenium ion is possible. Okay. So obviously any compound cannot stay as an ion forever. And also when the electrophile is formed, we also had extra negative ions that have formed. So in the case of nitration and sulfonation, we've got this HSO4 minus, right? And in the case of chlorination and Friedel-Crafts reaction, we've got this AlCl4 minus. So once you have a positive ion, like a new positive species in the reaction mixture, these negative anions are going to act on it, leading to removal of proton. So what happens here is you've got your rhenium ion, you've got your positive charge, H, and at the electrophile. Then the anion from the reaction mixture, so it is either AlCl4 complex or your HSO4 minus. What it does is, so the presence of this anion, it is going to act on the hydrogen that is connected over here. Okay. So these set of electrons are going to get attracted towards the electron deficient carbon, and like it's easy to remove the hydrogen rather than the electrophile, right? Like all electrophile is deficient of electrons, it likes electrons, and it's already bonded over here. Hydrogen is like one tiny atom, it's got just one proton, so it's easier to break the bond with hydrogen rather than with any other species that may be present. So the electrons from this hydrogen migrate over here, go towards the deficient carbon, and the proton itself gets attracted by the anion over here. So what you end up with is a substituted benzene with the electrophile. And so if you started off with AlCl4 minus, you get back HCl plus AlCl3. And if you started off with HSO4 minus, you get back your H2SO4. Okay. So these are the three steps in electrophilic substitution. So first you're generating an electrophile. That depends on what electrophile is being generated. So accordingly, you're going to take your reagents. Once your electrophile is generated, it's going to attack the electron-rich benzene ring and form the carbocation. And once the carbocation is formed, the hydrogen where the electrophile is attached, that gets removed. So that gets, so that bond breaks, giving you a substituted benzene. So substitution reaction is taking place along with your original reagent. So you're getting your AlCl3 back, you're getting your H2SO4 back along with, yeah. So of course, like in the case of acidic this thing, you have water as the byproduct. And in the case of chlorination, Alfredo-Claff reaction, you got HCl as the byproduct. Okay, so clear about these three steps, you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you noting it in your book? Like, are you also following the movement of the electrons? What's happening in step 1, step 2, all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. All right. So, should we do some questions based on this concept then?
Yes, ma'am, please.
I was thinking that, yeah. So before going on to rest of the reactions, I'll go with some of the questions here. So everyone's done noting it down. Just raise your hand once you're free and ready, okay? Right, so Mitali is done. Ansh, Dhriti, Ishita, Maya, Sid, you guys are still noting it down?
Yeah, just 2 minutes.
Okay.
Miss Dunn sent you a message chat in the chat.
Ah, yes, received it. Okay. Sid is also done. Maya is also done. Okay. All right. Ansh and Ishita. Ansh and Ishita, I'm just waiting for you guys. Okay. we'll go on to that book. Okay. All right. So look at question number 40. Actually, before 41, we'll look at some direct questions. Like question number 40 here, for example. Suggest a name of Lewis acid other than anhydrous aluminum chloride, which can be used during ethylation of benzene. So other than anhydrous aluminum chloride, what else can be used? Metallic close, but
Iron.
no. Ion.
I
Which
forgot.
one?
I forgot the name.
Do you remember the formula?
Was it iron chloride or something?
It is iron chloride, but ion forms two chlorides. So you've got FeCl3 and FeCl2.
It was FeCl3, I think.
FeCl2, this is the
yeah.
one that has like a deficiency. So this is the one that is ready to take one more anion. Yeah. So FeCl2 is can be used instead of this thing. So these are like some of the kind of questions that you guys will get. Right. And then question number 41. Why does benzene undergo electrophilic substitution easily, but not nucleophilic substitution? Who's gonna answer this? Why does benzene undergo electrophilic substitution, but easily, but not nucleophilic substitution? Think about it. All right. First answer. What is the difference between electrophilic substitution and nucleophilic substitution?
Electrophilic substitution takes electrons, and nucleophilic substitution donate electrons.
Right. So one is the like substituent is an electrophile, and in the other case, substituent is a nucleophile. Okay. Now, what's the difference between? Yeah. Go ahead, Mitali.
It's okay. I mean, I thought it's because benzene is a very electron-rich compound
Yes.
because it has pi localized electrons above and below its surface. I don't want to say surface, but
Plane. Call it plane.
yeah,
Yeah.
above and below its plane. That therefore, it's easier for electrophiles to attack benzene rather than nucleophiles.
Correct. You're absolutely right, Mitali. Why is it difficult for nucleophiles to attack benzene? Why would they prefer not attacking?
Because nucleophiles are negatively charged substituents, so
That
I
would
mean
cause?
that would cause repulsion, electron.
Correct. Absolutely. So electrophilic substitution, nucleophilic substitution. First difference is electrophilic है ये और ये nucleophilic है. मतलब one electrophilic substitution consists of an electrophile attacking, which is electron deficient. So that's why it likes electrons, it wants electrons. And nucleophilic substitution mein, you've got electron rich substituents. It's rich in electrons, which is why it's seeking out nucleus, which is positively charged, right? So in case of benzene ring, as Mitali said, it is electron rich because you've got the delocalized pi electrons roaming above and below the plane, right? So when you have a nucleophile coming across versus an electrophile coming closer to benzene. Which one do you think will get attracted?
Electrophile.
The electrophile. So nucleophile is going to get repelled by all these extra electrons here. It itself is electron rich. So that's the reason benzene can undergo electrophilic substitution easily, but not nucleophilic. Okay. Next. This is a good one. 43. So why is iodination of benzene carried out in the presence of nitric acid or iodic acid? So what do you mean by iodination of benzene?
So like chlorination.
Yeah.
Yes, except with
Iodine.
yes. Now the question is asking why is it carried out in the presence of nitric acid or iodic acid?
Ma'am, is it because it requires an acidic medium?
So why does it require? No, it's not because it requires an acidic medium. Why specifically this?
So maybe it helps in displacing the hydrogen from the bond.
That is one. So what's the primary purpose of taking a reagent like chlorination में aluminium chloride लिया, nitration में nitric acid लिया?
Electrophile.
Yes. So primary this thing.
Formation of an electrophile for iodine will be difficult because it's sort of a stable compound.
Yeah, iodine is less reactive compared to
less
other halogens. Yeah.
yeah, less reactive.
Yes.
So
So you need like a really strong oxidizing agent. So primary is to generate the electrophile, which in this case is I plus. And the secondary is, as you said, removal of the proton in the last step. Okay. But in order to do that, first you need to generate this electrophile first. And then, yeah, that comes in later. All right, next. All right, ortho-para directing. Okay, this is the next concept. We'll go over it in a bit. And a lot of questions that you get on electrophilic substitution reaction of benzene is to describe the, what do you call it, the mechanism directly, or you'll just be asked to predict the uh, products. Oh, there you go. Look at 57. How and under what conditions? So yeah. How and under what conditions does chlorine react with benzene? Like first let's answer for chlorine and then discuss what nitric acid.
A Lewis acid has to be present.
Yeah.
can I?
Yeah.
A Lewis acid, but you'll also give the name of the Lewis acid, right? Because it's
Yes.
asking you the reaction condition. Yeah, so we can say AlCl3. Then
Yes.
we'll say that it undergoes electrophilic substitution.
Yes.
So
Correct.
formation. I'm sorry for the background noise.
Correct. That's fine. So one more thing I forgot to mention, this question reminded me of. When you take the AlCl3, right, in as a reagent, specifically it has to be anhydrous AlCl3. You don't want water there. Otherwise, it would be difficult for the electrophile to form because it's going to take the anion from water. So ensure that it's anhydrous AlCl3, devoid of moisture. Okay, so that's one more click specifically when it's asking about reaction conditions, right? Don't forget to mention the anhydrous part of it. So shouldn't have any water there. Directive influence is something that we have to discuss right now.
Ma'am, question.
Yeah.
So could you go back to the question?
Sure.
Yeah. So here we simply said stated the reaction conditions, and we, what did we say? Yeah. And we said that it undergoes electrophilic substitution. When do we have to describe the mechanism?
When the questions asks for it, when it says something like explain how it takes place or what is the mechanism, then you
Okay.
mention that. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
There's no specific temperature that has to be carried out, right? Like no pressure.
No,
Wait,
not
it's not
particularly.
possible
Yeah.
reactions also.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the kind of questions that you get here. See, explain the mechanism of sulfonation and nitration. Then you have to specifically mention that.
Okay.
Yeah, look at 3.3.5. So what happens when benzene is treated with, let's go one by one, Br2 in the presence of AlCl3?
We only state the product.
Yeah. Or you can state what reaction takes place along with the product.
Halogenation.
Halogenation, like is it an addition reaction, substitution, elimination?
Addition reaction.
Ah,
Oh, wait, sorry, substitution reaction.
Electrophilic substitution.
benzene, don't forget about this. Yes.
Bromobenzene.
Yes. 1-bromobenzene. Then concentrated H2SO4 at 330 K.
Ma'am, now the 330K is just there to confuse the crap out of us, right?
Don't worry about it. As long as you have benzene with concentrated sulfuric acid, you increase the temperature a little bit to make the reaction like feasible, a little
Okay.
faster. But
Okay.
yeah. So once you know that you have benzene and you've got like concentrated sulfuric acid, what will you get? What is the possibility there?
Sulfonation.
Sulfonation, yes. Then mixture of concentrated H2SO4 and HNO3.
Nitration.
Nitration, yes.
Ma'am, can you give the name of the product for second one?
Okay,
Because the third one is nitrobenzene.
yeah. So this is the product. You have benzene and
Yeah.
SO3H. Sulfobenzene.
Okay. Thank you.
So this would be, can you guess what the product is in this case? You've got benzene and NO2. So nitration, what group are you adding to the benzene ring?
Nitro.
So the product will be called?
Nitrobenzene. One
Nitro.
nitrobenzene.
Absolutely, correct. Chloroethane in anhydrous AlCl3.
I'm assuming chlorination.
Look at what's being added here. You have chloroethane.
Riedel, Kraft.
Forms a carbocation. Alright, so that guy.
Alkylation.
Alkylation. Yeah.
Alkylation, yes. You're adding an alkyl group. Specifically, which alkyl group is getting added over here?
Ethyl. Did I say it right? No.
Can you
Chloroether.
repeat that? Chloroethyl or ethyl or chloro? Ethyl.
Yeah.
So the chloro group will be gone with the H that's getting substituted out.
Yeah.
So only the ethane, so ethyl group will be added here. Then ethanoyl chloride. Okay, because you guys have not come across this, acyl chlorides are usually called alkanoyl chloride. So ethanoyl chloride is basically, you have CH3 C double bond O and chloride hai, इसलिए it is Cl.
Oh, it's not alcohol. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I'm confused because can you relate this to being an aldehyde or a ketone because it has an oxygen with it, but
Yeah,
how
so
do
there
you
is a
mix it?
oxo group
Yeah.
here. So the C double bond O is called an oxo group. But the other end is again connected to a halogen. Like if there was an alkyl group, then it would have been a ketone. If there was hydrogen, it would have been an aldehyde. But because there is a halogen connected, it's an acyl chloride.
Ma'am, so it depends on what context the thing is also given, right?
Exactly. Instead of halogen or hydrogen or anything, if I had OH attached over here,
Then it would have become a carboxylic group.
carboxylic acid, yes. And
Right,
if I had a nitrogen attached over here, this is an amide group. Okay. So
Isn't that an H also, right?
yeah,
CN.
either NH or NR. So either way,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so don't isolate yourself on whatever functional group is there. Look around what this particular carbon is attached over here and here also. Okay,
So
simple.
that's also one more problem because I don't. Oh wait, like in this case, it's not an issue, but
Hmm.
in other cases, like if there's functional isomerism, then you don't know which one's actually the correct answer.
Hmm. So what I'll do is, again, like as I discussed, end of this class, I'll go over it. Like we'll make a whole list of all the functional groups and we'll group it up by what are the atoms present, so it gets easier to identify. Like is it nitrogen based or oxygen based or things like that. Yeah. And like obviously it's impossible to take in all of this information all at once, but cases like this, like as you keep coming across them in different situations, in different reactions, you tend to get a little more comfortable with them and start to differentiate with them, like between them. So but if you had to like try and by heart everything all at once, it would be difficult to remember, because right now you don't have an idea of what each compound means and how it behaves. Like you don't have a context for it, which makes it difficult to learn. But yeah, the more you keep coming across and doing these reactions, the more familiar you'll start getting with it. Okay. All right. So yeah, so these, like again, now you guys are comfortable with free electrophilic substitution reactions of benzene. You have figured out what reagents, you have figured out what products. Yeah, that's good. Mm, how will you convert benzene para? Okay, so this is something that I have to discuss right now. That's another important concept. So electrophilic substitution reactions, we have learned all of it. Next, addition reactions of benzene. All right. So obviously, benzene being unsaturated, like alkenes, you would expect it to have a tendency to undergo addition reactions also. But yeah, because of the resonance and like the chemistry of benzene, um, the double bonds are extremely stabilized and it's difficult to break them because they're all in like one single chain. So it's like the tendency is to follow what do you call it, electrophilic substitution reaction. But yeah, there are some addition reactions also that happen with benzene. So first one, obviously hydrogenation reaction. So at a high temperature or pressure in the presence of nickel catalyst, benzene will undergo hydrogenation. So what happens during hydrogenation reaction?
hydrogen is added across double bonds.
Yes. So if you add hydrogen across double bonds of benzene, what will you end up getting?
Or cyclohexane. Yeah, it's written.
Cyclohexane, yes. So you'll just have all single bonds with extra hydrogens here, the cyclohexane. And then apart from hydrogenation, you've got halogenation. Now, this also is possible only because it's undergoing a free radical mechanism. So under ultraviolet light, chlorine molecules get added to benzene to produce benzene hexachloride. So this particular compound is also called gamaxane. Okay.
I'm just out of curiosity.
Hmm.
We know that during halogenation of like, I think any hydrocarbon in sense like methane or
Methane, ethane, yeah.
anything, they go through like a lot of processes, right? Like for example, methane, it goes through like first process. After like 4 steps, you've obtained your tetrachloride.
Tetrachloride, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in benzene, does the same thing happen? It goes like one by one, each Cl
Yeah.
attached.
Yeah, so it depends on, how much light you have, like how much chlorine you have and the temperature. But
Okay.
yeah, the final product is benzene hexachloride
Okay.
under
Got it.
ultraviolet, right? High temperature. Yeah. Okay. And then oxidation, like your combustion reaction, obviously benzene is inflammable. And because it's got carbon and hydrogen, the products that you get are carbon dioxide and water. So if you have only carbon, you get carbon dioxide. If it's a hydrocarbon, you get carbon dioxide and water. And because it's an unsaturated compound, burns with a sooty flame. Right? Directive influence of functional group in a substituted benzene. Okay, this is like an important concept that you guys need to get familiar with. So, directive influence of a functional group in monosubstituted benzene. So, what do you mean by monosubstituted benzene?
There is only one benzene ring.
No. So, yeah, benzene is there. You got your usual benzene, and then it is monosubstituted.
So there is only one substituent.
One substituent, yes. So, one of the hydrogens is substituted with another group. So, it could be an alkyl group, toluene, or it could be OH group, which is phenol. It could be an aldehyde group. You get like benzaldehyde. It could be a nitro group. It could be a halobenzene. So basically, it's one benzene ring with one substituent on it. Substituent can be any group, anything other than hydrogen. It could be a halogen, oxygen. Oxygen matlab OH. It could be ether also, like OR. Could be an amine group, carboxylic acid, कोई भी. Yeah. So these kind of substituents, these kind of compounds are called monosubstituted benzene. Mono, one substituent on the benzene ring. So depending on what the substituent is, like depending on what functional group you have here, so this particular group has some sort of directive influence. So this comes into picture when you're doing electrophilic substitution. All right. So when an already substituted benzene, like benzene with a functional group already present on it, when this is undergoing an electrophilic substitution reaction, right? Let me just take it up on the whiteboard. All right. So when you had normal original benzene with nothing else, and let's say you were substituting it with chlorine. Now, chlorine has its pick of position. It can go wherever it wants, right? It's got like 6 available positions. It can go wherever. But let's say you're already taking a chlorobenzene and making it undergo the same reaction. So how many possible positions do you think it has for the chlorine to get substituted?
Ma'am, can you repeat that? I lost you for like a minute. Sorry.
So, like when you are substituting an empty benzene ring, like a plain benzene ring, with any substituent, like let's say chlorine,
Yeah.
chlorine has its pick of position. It's got like 6 available carbons, can get attached anywhere. But when you're taking a chlorobenzene, an already substituted benzene, and let's say you're making it undergo the same reaction, how many available positions are there for the new chlorine atom to get substituted at?
I think there should be one only, which
Only one?
one instance, because you've broken one double bond to add one chlorine, right? And one chlorine is already added. So the other
No.
That'd be
Dali,
great.
we have not broken any double bond. The resonance is still on.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
then they're
Sorry.
fine.
And it's a substitution reaction, right? Don't forget, you're substituting it, you're not adding. Yeah. Yeah, Sid, you were saying?
There should be 5, right?
Ideally, you would expect 5,
3 or 5.
and if all 5 had equal chances, then you should be expecting all the different types of isomers. You would be expecting an orthoisomer. So whether it adds in position, let me number it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whether it's in 1 or 5, you'll be expecting this isomer, like flip it ulta. And if it is getting substituted in either 2 or 4, you'd be expecting this product. And if you're expecting, okay, position 3, you'd be expecting this product, right? So ideally, you should get like almost equal distribution of all these products. Maybe more of these two because you have multiple positions available for the ortho product. But more or less, ortho and meta should be the same. Maybe a slight variation that para would be different. Like this would be your expectation, right? But that is not what happens. So the presence of the functional group affects the electron distribution in the benzene ring. Okay.
Can you please repeat that?
Yeah. So the presence of the functional group, like this is totally not what happens. The presence of the functional group affects the electron distribution around benzene ring. So now the displacement of electrons is not equivalent across all the carbons. Okay, so and why it differs depends on what kind of functional group is already substituted on benzene. So if you were to practically do this kind of experiment, if you took chlorobenzene and wanted to do a substitution reaction on it, you are not going to get all 3 products. You are only going to get one moment. Yeah. So you are only going to get more of the ortho and para product. You are not going to get a lot of meta product. So the reason.
What's ortho and what's meta?
Oh, you guys need to practice nomenclature regularly, huh? So ortho is whenever it's in 1,5 position. Yeah, this is called an orthoisomer.
1 or 2 also right, ma'am. One or 2 and 1 or 5.
मतलब
I mean,
1215, yeah.
Yeah.
IUPAC में 1215, but yeah, if it's on the adjacent carbon, this is called ortho. If it is
2, 4, it's
basically 1, 1, 3 or 1, 5, this is meta.
and then
When
1,
it's
4.
straight, like directly on the opposite side, this is called a para isomer. Okay, so when it's on adjacent carbon, it's called an orthoisomer. When it is like on or like one removed, it is called the meta isomer, and when it's directly opposite, this is called para isomer. All right. So coming back to this, yeah. So when you do it, so in this case, there is more of ortho and para, and you don't get meta, or this is like a minor product. Similarly, if you were to do an experiment with something like a nitro group, on nitrobenzene, if you were to do the same reaction, chlorination, in this case, the majority product that was observed is meta product. Sorry, Cl.
Ma'am, reason?
So the reason for that, these kind of differences, is that the presence of the substituent, whether it's chlorine, whether it's NO2, whether it's OH, whether it's COOH, like the substituent that's already present on benzene ring affects the electron distribution within the ring itself. Okay. So
Then
we had learned about this when we were talking about resonance effect. Do you guys remember plus R, minus R?
not vividly, but
Like is there like a slight idea, something familiar? There's something we said, activating the ring, deactivating the ring.
I know activating the ring plus R is where electrons are taken from the ring. Or
Electrons
given.
are given.
Given
to the ring, yeah.
and minus electrons are taken from the ring.
Yes. So deactivating minus R is
Oh,
when electrons are taken.
the resonance structures are either the positive charge is either on the meta and para positions or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what happens is, I'll take one example of which, activating and deactivating. So in the case of activating structures, right? So there are some groups. Now this completely depends on what atoms are present here and their chemistry. There's nothing else to it. Some groups like alcohol group, even amines to some extent, and halo to some extent. Let me break it down. OH. Yeah. So some groups, what happens is you've got the lone pair of electrons here. These lone pair of electrons also get involved. Like obviously oxygen has lone pair of electrons in the p orbital only. So these and oxygen also bonded to two. Okay. The electrons in the p orbital of oxygen also get in on the resonance. So what happens is, so when these electrons are shared with carbon, this carbon is like, whoa, too many electrons, let me get rid of some. And then these pair of electrons on a double bond migrate to this carbon. So next product is OH. Now because this oxygen is sharing, it gets a slight positive charge. This has a negative charge on these carbon, and these two are unchanged. Then obviously negative charge, extra carbon. So these electrons get pushed over here and these migrate over here. So the next resonance structure is OH plus. and this forms a double bond and the negative charge migrates over here. This is unchanged. And these electrons keep moving throughout the circle in a similar way. O plus H. So these get pushed over here. These get pushed to this carbon. There is negative charge over here. There's a double bond over here. This remains unchanged. And then the oxygen takes back these this pair of electrons, and this forms a double bond over here. OH. Okay, so because of these resonating structures, now you can see that if there was an electrophile attacking phenol, so this is benzene with an alcohol, is called phenol. So when you have an electrophile attacking phenol, where would it have a tendency to go? Like it wants electron rich areas. So where would it find the electron rich areas in this compound?
Meta and para positions.
Meta and para?
No, wait, could you repeat what you said? I thought you said.
Yeah, where is the electrophile going to want to attack? Where are the electron rich areas?
2.
Yeah,
The
what
second-
position is this?
Yeah. Ortho is 1 and 2. Ortho,
Yes,
ortho,
ortho and
ortho, and 1 and 4. Para.
para, right? So there
Hello,
is,
hello.
yeah, can you hear me?
Ortho, para. Yeah, sorry. No, what is happening is I think there is some sort of a glitch at my end because I can hear you, then you freeze, and then it goes on again. So I don't know what is happening.
All right, can you hear me now better?
Yeah, I can
Hello?
hear you.
Okay,
Yeah. Ortho
Yeah.
and para.
correct. So when an electrophile is attacking phenol, it has a tendency to go towards the ortho and para positions. So the products that you would finally expect would look something like this. You have benzene, you have OH. Now the electrophile will get substituted either at ortho or at para. So these are the ortho and para isomers will be your majority product, like the preferred products. Okay. So basically what the substituent is doing, like what this OH group is doing, is it is directing where the next substitution should happen. It's not being independent. It is controlling the benzene ring. It is dictating that, oh, new substituent, you get to go only in either ortho or para, because the electrons got involved in this particular thing, right? So this is what is called the directive influence of the functional group in a monosubstituted benzene. All right, so the directive influence is that some groups will direct the next substituent to be in certain positions only. Like OH group is saying that the next electrophile can attack either ortho or para positions only. Similarly, some other groups are going to say, okay, you're an electrophile, you can only get substituted in meta position only. All right. So that sort of influence, like it's called the directive influence, and that whole thing happens, like the reason why that directive influence happens is because of this resonating structures, right? So because of the resonance, because of how the electrons are displaced in the benzene ring, you can see that there is concentration of electrons on particular atoms more than other atoms. In this case, it is concentrated on ortho and para atoms and less concentrated on the meta atoms, which is why we say that OH group is ortho para directing. So OP directing.
So, ma'am, in organic chemistry, I think we learned about learned the substituents that caused the plus R effect. So we know that
Absolutely.
whenever those substituents are like attached to the benzene ring, it's
Mm-hmm.
directing groups.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Okay, okay,
That's
okay.
exactly it. And similarly, on the flip side, like when you look at a nitro group, you've got the benzene ring. This is connected to nitrogen, double bond O. O. So what nitrogen is doing is, so nitro group is already kind of electron deficient. It's already sharing the lone pair of electrons with this oxygen. So it wants to pull the electrons from the ring towards itself. Now, because this is giving away the lone pair of electrons, it's going to have a tendency to pull the electrons, which means that what is the result here? Like, is there going to be a negative charge in the ring or a positive charge in the ring? So if it takes away the pair of electrons towards itself,
Positive.
positive charge. So this particular carbon has become deficient of electrons. Okay. So based on these resonating structures, okay, let me just complete this thing. Because this is positively charged, it's going to pull the electrons towards itself. The positive charge is over here, pair of electrons migrated over here, and this keeps on continuing. So this double bond is unchanged, and this forms newly, and this becomes deficient as a result. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be negative.
That was negative. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
And then finally, yeah, so basically this pulls the electrons towards itself. This is the resultant structure. Now, based on these resonating structures, if you have a nitro group attached to benzene ring, where do you find the electron rich areas in this case?
Ma'am, there is only one electron-rich area, which is the nitro group.
But nitro group is already saturated with electrons, like nitrogen's valency is full. Like if there was a substituent attacking, where would it prefer going in the positions available in the benzene ring?
One, two, ortho.
But ortho may we have positive charge, na?
Acha, हाँ. Okay, sorry.
Para maybe
Where?
we have positive charge.
Oh, so it would only go in meta.
Yes. So the
And
only electron
they
rich
get-
areas, yeah. Sorry?
Oh, now I.
Hmm.
So they'll be like they'll break the bonds, right?
No, there is no breaking of bonds. I mean, yeah, one bond will be broken.
Yeah, so yeah, one
Yeah.
bond.
And then eventually when hydrogen is removed, you get that double bond back again.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the products in this case, when you have a group like nitro group, which is deactivating the benzene ring, the products that you get would be meta products.
So, ma'am, meta products are for negative R effect substituents.
Yes. Okay. So when a group has a tendency to activate the benzene ring, you get orthopara, they're orthopara directing. And when a group deactivates the benzene ring, they're said to be meta directing. Okay. So I'll quickly summarize this. All right. So
Yes,
when
ma'am, got it.
yeah. So when
End of the
monosubstituted,
chapter?
yes. So when
Oh,
monosubstituted benzene is subjected to further substitution, like when it already has a substitution and you're introducing another group to it, there are three possible distributed products, which is your ortho, para, or meta. But what is observed is, depending on what functional group is there on the substituted benzene, you get either majority orthopara or majority meta product. So it's always either orthopara or meta. So that depends on the nature of the substituent already present, and that is because that particular substituent has a directive influence. So where that directive influence is coming from is basically the resonance structure that it forms, right? So when you have orthopara directing group, it is giving electrons to the ring, also called activating the ring, and based on which positions they are activated, you get orthopara products, right?
yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So OH group activates thing. So other activating groups, just make a note of it, because this is important. Like the questions you'll be asked something like, when aniline is treated with Friedel-Crafts reaction, then what are the products formed? So you need to know whether NH2 is orthopara directing or meta directing. So examples of activating groups, you've got NH2, NHR. So amines are all activating. Amide is also mildly activating. Ether is activating. Alkyl groups are activating. So basically, electron donating groups, something that you'd associate with basic nature, like ammonia is basic, so that is why you have amines. OH group, hydroxide is basic, it activates the ring. Alkyl groups are electron donating, which is why carbocations are stabilized. They are activating groups. Okay. So that's like a, kind of like a shortcut way of remembering it in a pinch if you want to know. So yeah, examples of activating groups. Amine groups are activating, ether is activating, alkyl groups are activating. Okay.
Okay, so what kind of isomers do they form? They form ortho and meta, or do they form ortho and para, or they form meta?
Ortho and para, right? This
Yes.
is for activating groups.
Activating groups, yes. Activating matlab ortho para products.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Then halogens are, halogens have a tendency to attract electrons. They're electron negative, but so the thing is, with halogens, the lone pair of electrons contributes to the resonance. It activates the ring, but halogens also exhibit, like, they have a really strong minus I effect because of their electron negativity. So it makes further substitution difficult, but whatever cases it is possible, halogens are found to be orthopara directing. Okay. So halogens are also orthopara directing.
So how do you figure out what groups are orthopara? Do you just have to memorize them?
Yeah, again, as I said, right, like a quick hack method is to like something that reminds you of basic nature. Like ammonia is basic in nature. Groups that kind of have lone pair of electrons that it can give away. So that's the kind of pattern that I have noticed, and that's how I remember it. So electron donating groups like amines, alkyl groups, OH group are orthopara directing. So basically, halogens are like the one kind of exception to it, because halogens you would associate with like HCl, they form acids, but because they have lone pair of electrons, they also tend to be orthopara directing. It becomes clear when I show you guys which groups are meta directing.
Meta-directing, like, does carboxylic acid come in meta-directing?
Yes.
So they're acidic. I mean, yeah, ma'am, your hack works.
Exactly. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So meta directing, I've showed you the reason how meta directing happens. It like takes away the electrons from the ring. So orthoparame, you end up having positive charges, which means that the only electron rich areas are the meta positions, which is why deactivating groups tend to form meta products. So examples of meta-directing groups you can see here: nitro group, which you get from nitric acid; nitrile groups, again, HCN is weakly acidic; aldehydes, like what do you call it? Oxo group, like ketone group; carboxylic acid, esters, SO3H. So all the groups that kind of, it gives you a sense of, oh, they may show acidic properties. That sort of groups are meta-directing. So all the electron withdrawing groups, nitro, nitrile, aldehydes and ketones. So another thing that all these groups have in common is that the benzene ring is not directly attached to oxygen. If it is directly attached to oxygen, the lone pair gets in and it becomes electron donating. But in these cases, you have a carbon that is doubly bonded to oxygen. So these kinds of cases, these become meta-directing because it tends to be electron withdrawing. They are not electron donating.
So, ma'am, can I say if I see a benzene ring or like a phenol connected, why am I saying connected? Bonded to an oxygen atom, then I can say that it'll be like a electron donating group.
Yes, phenol is electron donating. Phenol.
No, what I mean is, I don't know if I said it right. Like you said, the thing with withdrawing groups is that not a single oxygen in those atoms is connected directly to the benzene ring.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so I mean like the opposite. Like OH, for example, you've written it right there.
Yeah.
If the benzene ring is directly connected to an oxygen, then it becomes an electron, a active, like it activates the ring, right? If oxygen
Correct.
is connected to benzene.
Yeah, correct. Electron donating. Yeah. So that's why even ethers, instead of H, if I write R over here, if I have ethers, they are also electron donating. Okay. So yeah, examples of electron donating, electron withdrawing. We just do a little bit of practice. I'll just write the groups here and then you guys predict. If I have aniline, is this going to form orthopara or meta?
Meta.
Huh?
Oh no, sorry. Orthopara. My bad.
Yeah, orthopara. Sid, you're right. Benzaldehyde.
Meta.
Meta. Dhriti and Ishita, you guys have been quiet for quite some time.
I'm not understanding everything.
Hmm?
I don't have doubts. I'm understanding everything.
Okay. Now I want you to answer questions. So SO3H, orthopara or meta?
Meta.
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 Pakka? Okay. Awesome. Chlorobenzene.
Orthopara.
Orthopara.
Orthopara. What other groups do we have? Toluene.
Orthopara.
Pakka?
I,
Yeah, orthopara because it's an alkyl,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
State.
Electron donating. Yes. Activates the ring. Okay. Awesome. You guys have gotten a hang of it. So one more. Ester.
Meta.
Sure? You sure about that?
Yeah.
Very good. This is meta directing. Cool. So that's it for these chapter, guys. It's 4:40. Should we go over the questions? See what kind of questions are coming up, things like that.
We can go over the groups and all right now.
Right. Sure. Yes.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, can you also explain inert pair effect and like those effects as well? Because I have lost I don't have them properly in my head. That's why. If you
Okay.
don't mind, because we have 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Yes, we do. One moment. Let me check. So the groups. I'll see if we have a list of functional groups readily available. That would make it easy. Just take like 2-3 minutes, guys. Let me get the other file out with the functional groups. So inert pair effect, Mitali, you're talking about
Yeah, inert pair effect as in the plus I minus I. Like we just saw it, but like it's like I get confused whenever I go like away from the thing. Like I don't think I've like revised all
okay.
that.
So inert pair effect is not something related to organic chemistry. I think you're talking about like inductive effect.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, ma'am, that is why I need to get that thing right.
All right. Cool. So I won't go extremely deep into it. We'll just
No,
revise
but
the
that's
terms and what happens there. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, where do we have functional groups, list of functional groups? That's good because all of this is in the same chapter. Can easily do this here. All right. Oh, okay. This list is also not complete. Okay, this list is just whatever is there in your syllabus. Only that's all are given over here. All right. So the different functional groups that you have, we will take it one by one. Within hydrocarbons only, no other atoms, just carbon and hydrogen. You've got alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, characterized by single bond, double bond, triple bond. Okay. Then let's look at oxygen-based functional groups.
Can you also include they are you know how how they spell, like alkanes have like butane, alkene,
Um,
methyl, and
IUPAC name.
yeah, IUPAC.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it from now on because these are like just simple hydrocarbons, right? That's why I just let it be. All right. So oxygen based functional group, you've got carboxylic acid, which is C double bond O OH. So the suffix for this is oic acid, like ethanoic acid, butanoic acid, propanoic acid. Um, and then derivative of carboxylic acid is you've got esters. So in place of hydrogen, if you substitute it with an alkyl group, you get ester, C double bond O OR. So the IUPAC name is alkyl alkanoate. So alkanoate part is basically wherever you have the C double bond O part. Okay, so ethyl methanoate means it is formed from methanoic acid. So over here you just have one carbon. Alkyl is basically whatever is attached beyond this oxygen. So ethyl matlab you've got C2H5 attached over here. So alkyl alkanoate. So alkyl is whatever is attached to the single bonded oxygen. Alkanoate is whatever contains the C double bond O part of it. Then what else have you got? Aldehydes and ketones. So if you don't have the single bond O, C double bond O H. So CHO is aldehyde. The functional like IUPAC name is alkanal, AL. And ketones, again, instead of H, if you've got another alkyl group, like carbons attached on both sides of the C double bond O, you get ketones. IUPAC name is alkanone. Right? Apart from this, what else have you guys got? Alcohols and ethers. So alcohol is pretty straightforward. Alkyl group connected to OH. The name is also alkanol, OL. And ether is instead of hydrogen if you are connected to another alkyl group. So ether's naming is, it depends on what functional groups are attached here. They are, so one IUPAC name is alkoxyalkane. So the order doesn't, like, you just pick alphabetical order, like methoxymethane, ethoxyethane, like it doesn't really matter much. It's just indicative of the number of carbon atoms attached on either side of the oxygen.
Got it.
Yeah. Alcohol, ether, yeah, like that's about it for the functional groups containing oxygen.
Ma'am, I have one more
Purely
question.
oxygen. Yeah.
What's a carbono group? What are the carbono groups?
Carbonyl groups are when you have a C double bond O. So basically aldehydes and ketones together, like this family of compounds, you call them, you say, okay, this is a carbonyl group, C double bond O. If it contains a C double bond O without the OH, without any other thing, you say, okay, it's a carbonyl compound. So instead of
But in
saying aldehydes or ketones,
there is an H, right? Like in aldehydes, it's C double bond O bond H. So how is it like a carbonyl group?
the main thing is C double bond O over here. So
Okay.
in organic chemistry, just think of H like a filler. So any bond, any bond is incomplete, fill it with hydrogen. That's basically kind of the deal there.
That's its job now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the
So
reason. Even when you study, right? Like next year, you're going to study each of these functional groups one at a
Separate.
time. Yeah, separately.
Okay.
So even the division there, alcohols and ethers are in one chapter, like alcohol, phenol, ether. Aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acid are in like one chapter. That way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay. Next. Okay, so these are all the functional groups containing oxygen. Next, look at functional groups containing nitrogen. Okay, first we've got amines. So
So there'll be
amines,
three, right?
yeah. So there are three types of amines depending on the number of hydrogens. Again, think of hydrogen as a filler. So the main thing about amine is an alkyl group is directly attached to nitrogen with single bonds only. So if it's only one carbon atom is attached to nitrogen, the other two will be hydrogens. It's called a primary amine. If there are two alkyl groups attached to nitrogen, there's only one hydrogen. This is called a secondary amine. And if there are three, like all three bonds for nitrogen taken up by carbon atom, it's called a tertiary amine. But all of them come under amines only. It's primary, secondary, and tertiary. And the IUPAC name, also the suffix is amine. So for primary amines, generally you look at it as methanamine or ethanamine. The common names also ends with amine, so you will come across names like methylethylamine or methylpropylamine, that sort of thing. So amines ka IUPAC name or common name, you can recognize them. They will contain the word amine.
So it's always like a suffix. It's never a prefix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got amine. What else? Nitrogen ke saath you've got the nitrile group.
Ma'am, this is triple bond, no?
Yes. So when you have R, C triple bond N. So there are isomers of nitrile group. So this is nitrile, also called cyano, like cyanobenzene or cyanomethane. I think cyano is the IUPAC name. So I've come across both nitrile as well as cyano prefix. And then you've got isonitrile or isocyano. Basically an isomer. So if it is attached to the other side, got N triple bond C, that's a isocyano. So if it is CN, it's a nitrile group. If it is NC, it's isocyano. That way. And what else have you guys got? So these are like the two primary ones. And then you have something called amide. Yeah.
Amide and nitro.
Yeah. Oh, nitro is one. Good. Thanks for reminding. I'll touch on amide later. Nitro group. Again, carbon is connected to nitrogen, but nitrogen is connected to oxygen, not like hydrogen or other carbons. This case, the prefix is nitro. And apart from this, you've got, okay, this is a mixed one. It's called amide. Again, so you've got amide is a combination of C double bond O and N. So this nitrogen can be attached to hydrogen. You can have NH2, or it can be attached to another carbon atom. But when you have this bridge, right, C double bond ON, so this particular group is called an amide group. And the name also, you can recognize it has amide in its name. Again, like these are basically derivatives of existing groups. They're not like pure groups.
Now, could you go back to the previous whiteboard thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. You guys noting this down?
No, I took a screenshot because this is all I know.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. So functional groups containing oxygen, we've got acids, esters, aldehyde ketones, alcohols, ethers. Functional groups containing nitrogen, we've got amines, nitriles and isonitriles, nitro, and amide is basically a derivative of oxygen in this thing. Apart from that, carbon can form covalent bonds with halogens also. In that case, it's just a simple prefix. Halogens can only form a single bond, so this makes it pretty easy. They're called, so common name is alkyl halides, and IUPAC name, you call them haloalkanes, like chloromethane, bromoethane, that way. It's just single bond X wherever carbon is attached to a halogen. Then you have derivatives of this. Main thing is acyl chloride. Okay, okay, these are not like, you will come across them when you study reactions and all of that, but it's not like, you will have outright what is the IUPAC name and other things like that. So one is acyl chloride, which is basically your C double bond O, Cl. You have acid chloride. So when you have an acid group substituted with a chloride, what else do you have? You have acid anhydride.
Do we need to remember all of this?
You don't have to like remember, but it's good to be familiar, because again, as you study reactions, you will come across this. And I had mentioned before, like it would be impossible for you to remember all sorts of carbon compounds. The best way for you that will help you remember is to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. Like, because we have learned electrophilic substitution of benzene, that was a chance to get familiar with acyl chlorides. So similarly, you will come across reactions, and that will help you remember the context better, because it, like, organic compounds are literally, like, think of them as Lego building sets. You can, as long as the valencies are fulfilled, you can connect any atom to any other atom. That's basically how all of the different types of atoms form. That's why organic chemistry is a whole different branch in itself. So it's impossible to remember all of them, like the way you had remembered IUPAC names and functional groups last year, like the main ones. These are the important common ones that you would absolutely need to remember. But these are the things I'm just mentioning because you will come across them while studying reactions, but that is the only instance you will come across it. So it's good to be familiar, but you don't have to like remember it. Like, you won't be asked what is the IUPAC name of this acid anhydride or identify this compound. It's just good to be familiar. Oh, those sorts of compounds also exist. So acid anhydride is exactly as the name says. So it's derived from carboxylic acid when you take away one water molecule, kind of. So basically it is C double bond O, O, and another C double bond O. And you have carbon.
The open valency is for R, right?
Yeah.
in the cases
Yes.
for acyl chloride, acid
Yes.
chloride.
If I put an open bond, it means that yes, anything
Yeah,
in
for
the
R.
alkyl group. Yeah. So this can be RR or it can be RR dash. Other
Okay.
things that can be attached. Yeah. So basically, you can think of acid anhydrides as you have C double bond O OH and C double bond O OH. Take away one water molecule H2O, and you get RC double bond O, O single bond, C double bond O. That's right. So these are the ones that I remember just off the top of my head, like compounds that you may come across later on. But the main classes of compounds are nitrogen based, are these, oxygen based these. Out of all these also, this year you guys have learned hydrocarbons. Next year you have all about oxygen based, and you only have amines. You won't be studying like preparation properties of the nitrile and nitro and everything else. So you have oxygen based amines and haloalkanes, haloarenes. Yeah, that's it. And what else? Yeah, there's like a lot of other molecules. You have your amino acids, you have carbohydrates, you have like a,
Yeah, but mostly, ma'am, we'll cover these only, right, at this stage.
yeah, this is all. Yeah.
Yeah, this works.
Yeah. What else did I want to discuss with you guys? There's one more thing I wanted to mention, I forgot. Yeah, so basically just take it one step at a time. Don't worry about this. Good to be familiar that, oh, this exists. But if you come across something new, don't get afraid that you have never heard of it. Just be open to it. Like, yeah, just know that, oh, this is also possible, so it exists. In fact, you have peroxides also that are used as reagents in some cases. Like, even I don't know a lot about them. I only know that, oh, so peroxides are also used in certain types of reactions. So these kind of situations and compounds also exist. Don't worry about it. Okay. All right. What's your schedule like, you guys? Like, can I assign homework for you in organic chemistry, Abhi?
Organic means, ma'am, hydrocarbons, right?
Hydrocarbons, yes,
Today.
this chapter, yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, over the
Yes,
weekend.
ma'am. It's okay. We'll complete it.
Okay. All right. So I'll give questions based on alkenes, alkynes, and benzene. Okay. Not sure when our
Okay,
next
ma'am.
class is, but I'll keep in mind that I'll give it
Next
for a
week.
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
All right.
Okay, ma'am.
You
Bye,
so
miss.
much.
Thank you, miss.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.